Right. Let me clear something up before you get too comfortable. Tonight, this is not about you. I know it's hard to hear, yes. Not because it's cruel, no. But because it's unfamiliar, right? You've been trained to believe that everything happening around you is somehow part of your personal narrative. A lesson, a sign, a test, a subplot designed specifically for your growth. It isn't. Most things that happen in this world are not messages, They are just events. Indifferent and bothered, moving on without you. Well, and yet you insist on standing in the middle of it all, convinced the universe is watching closely, waiting for your reaction. Somewhere along the way we replace humility with storytelling. Now every inconvenience is part of my journey. Every disagreement is an attack. Every neutral interaction becomes evidence that people are either against you or failing to appreciate you properly. You are not late, no. You were delayed by the universe. You weren't ignored, no. People just couldn't handle you. So you didn't get what you wanted. Clearly this is a character development, right? It's a beautiful lie. Very comforting, yeah. And completely detached from reality. Here's the part no one warned you about. When you believe you're the main character, everyone else automatically becomes a supporting role. Or worse, background noise. Their problems are less important, their boundaries feel inconvenient, their needs are secondary to your emotional arc. I know, you don't mean to be selfish. You are just very busy staring in your own story. And don't misunderstand me. This is not narcissism in a clinical sense. This is something much more common. Much more boring. It's the quiet belief that your feelings deserve special handling. That your pain carries more meaning. And that your discomfort should rearrange the room. And no, not because you are cruel. Because you have confused awareness with importance, right? But mate, the world didn't cast you. You just show up, look around, and assume the spotlight was yours by default. So, today we are going to talk about that delusion. Yeah, not to shame you now, not to humble you, but to see what happens when the story stops revolving around you, and you are forced to face the most terrifying role of all. Just another person.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.
All right. I see some of you managed to survive the last episode without a breakdown. Good for you. Well, I would say I'm grateful you're back. But we both know I don't need a company, right? Hello, I'm Noah. And before you settle into the fantasy that I'm here to validate your journey or hold your hand through your last subplot, forget it. This is not therapy. And it's definitely not a safe space for your personal mythology. So, if you're here to feel seen, you're already wasting my time. Here's the delusion. You think you are the center of the room. Not out loud, no. Not with conscience. But in the way you interpret everything that happens around you. If someone is quiet, you assume something's wrong between you. If someone disagrees, you take it personally. If someone doesn't respond, you feel dismissed. Every neutral moment gets pulled into your orbit and forced to mean something about you. That's not intuition. That's ego looking for relevance. You have convinced yourself that your inner life deserves constant accommodation. Your mood should be considered, your triggers anticipated, your discomfort respected. And slowly, without realizing it, you start expecting the world to move at your own emotional pace. You don't ask for it directly, no. You just react badly when it doesn't happen. You withdraw, you sulk, you reinterpret events until you're just injured party again. Right. Because in your story, friction isn't normal. It's injustice. This is where the main character fantasy really rots you, you know? You don't experience inconvenience as inconvenience. You experience it as disrespect. You don't experience boundaries as boundaries anymore, no. You experience them as rejection. And then you don't experience other people's anatomy as neutral. You experience it as a failure to prioritize you. And that's not sensitivity, mate. That's entitlement with emotional vocabulary. You tell yourself you're just being very self-aware, but awareness without perspective is just obsession. You know how you feel at all times, but you have no idea how insignificant those feelings are for the rest of the world. And that realization terrifies you, I know. Because if everything is not about you, then maybe your pain isn't special. Maybe your suffering isn't a storyline. Maybe it's just part of being human. Unremarkable, uncinematic, shared by billions. And that's the one role you don't want to play. You want to struggle to mean more, to justify attention, to demand patience, to earn expectations. So you keep framing your life like a movie. Heroes, villains, lessons, arcs, anything except the truth. Most days, nothing is happening to you. Life is just happening, and you are in it. Not staring, participating. Because once you accept that you are not the main character, something uncomfortable happens. You lose the excuse. You can't blame the universe anymore, you can't dramatize neutrality, you can't demand special handling just because you feel intensely. You are forced to develop something far less glamorous. Perspective. And let's be honest, because if this episode is irritating you, well, it's not because I'm wrong. It's because I've interrupted the story you tell yourself to stay comfortable. You are used to narrating your life from the inside, you know. Every feeling gets a voiceover. Every reaction feels justified because you felt it. Feeling something doesn't make it important. It just makes it yours. You assume people are thinking about you far more than they are, you know. Oh my God, that awkward pause. It was not about you, mate. And that neutral reply was just a message. But instead of accepting that, you zoom it, you know? You analyze, you personalize, you turn indifference into meaning because meaning keeps you at the center. Here's what you don't want to admit. Being the main character feels good because it removes responsibility, I know. If everything happens to you, then you're never really accountable for how you respond, right? You are just reacting, just processing, just on your journey. And journey sound noble. Much better than saying I didn't handle that well. So you protect the illusion. You exaggerate your inner world. You dramatize minor wounds. You inflate discomfort into identity. Because if your pain is big enough, well, maybe it deserves special treatment, right? And if it deserves special treatment, maybe you don't have to grow. But look closely at how you behave when things don't go your way. Do you reflect? Or do you retreat? Do you communicate? Or do you punish with silence? Do you adjust? Or do you double down on being misunderstood? That's not depth. That's control disguised as sensitivity. And here's the quiet truth that nobody romanticizes, you know? Most of the time you are not being challenged. You're just being inconvenienced. You know, most of the people are not attacking you. They are just busy with their own lives. And most moments are meaningful turning points into your narrative. They are just moments, mate. Ordinary moments. Uncurated, normally forgettable moments. And that's where your illusion starts to crack. Because once you accept that you're not the main character, something humbling happens. Your pain doesn't disappear, but it stops demanding an audience. Your feelings still matter, but they stop ruling the room. You don't shrink. You just stop inflating yourself to feel significant. And if this feels uncomfortable, well, that's expected. Letting go of the spotlight always does, you know? Now, before you rush to reframe this as too harsh or not nuanced enough, ask yourself one simple question. When something goes wrong, do you look for perspective? Or do you look for a storyline where you are justified? Because those are not the same thing. Here's the reality you've been avoiding. You don't need to be the main character to have a life that matters, mate. But you need to stop acting like everything revolves around you if you want to grow. The world doesn't own your attention, you know? People don't own your interpretation. Nobody owns you anything. And your feelings don't automatically outrank everyone else's reality. That's not cruelty. That's adulthood. Now let's see if you can sit with this without turning it into content. Go to the Unfiltered Outsider socials at Outsider. One sentence. No context, no backstory. Just answer. Where do you still expect the world to revolve around you? Send it. Or don't. But don't pretend you're above this while quietly rewriting the story in your head, right? Next episode, we are doing this again. Oh yeah, I'm loving it. Another illusion, another quiet collapse. Subscribe, follow, well, or walk away. Just remember this. You are not the main character. You are just a person. And that's more than enough, if you can handle it. Uninfluenced, Unpaid, Unfiltered. I'm Jackman, and this is the Unfiltered Outsider.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.